This is the Peace, Power, and Purpose podcast, where we spread awareness for men's mental health and spread the gospel of Jesus Christ. Be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and Spotify. New episodes drop weekly. Welcome back to the show. I'm Steve, and tonight we're going to go from Hollywood to rock bottom. We're going to cover loss. We're going to cover addiction. We're going to cover faith and resilience. This is John Mabry's testimony. John, thanks for coming on tonight, man. I appreciate you, brother.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. It's an honor to be here. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, man. Another Tennessee guy. We're like right down the street from each other, but we're on the remote.
Exactly.
Yeah, man. Well, John, you have been on a lot of podcasts. You've got a lot of great content out, and your story is really powerful. So I want to start tonight with kind of the beginning. Can you tell our viewers and listeners kind of where you grew up and what was your childhood like for you?
Okay, yeah, let me do that. I'm going to give the audience a little teaser if they're watching. We're going to get into this a little bit later. Took my leg off to get comfortable here.
Nice.
So kick back.
I should have mentioned that. I should have mentioned that in the intro.
Kick back, relax. We're going to have a good time here. Got story time.
There we go.
My name's John Mabry, grateful believer in Jesus Christ, and I struggle with substance use, mental health disorders, and grateful to be sober for 5 years now, only by the grace of God.
Amen.
But so I grew up in Texas, grew up in San Antonio, kind of in the hill country. Grew up on 9 acres. His older brother, 3.5 years older than me, Matt, and my parents, and had everything I wanted as a kid, and everything I needed, and most everything that I wanted. Let me say that. I would say I was kind of spoiled. Dad was a food broker, owned a business, and had 70, 80 employees, and I had a really normal, I would say, normal childhood. However, underneath the surface of what I thought was a normal childhood, I had trauma kind of weaved throughout my childhood that I didn't know was trauma until years later when I was dealing with all of my addiction stuff and trying to figure out where to go, where it all started. When you're in the throes of severe mental illness and depression, chronic pain, addiction, sometimes, you just don't know which way is up. You just don't know even where to start. And I called this trauma therapist here in Franklin, and she goes, "Look, I don't care about these traumas you had later on in your life. What happened to you as a kid?" I said, "Well, I had a great childhood." She said, "I'm sure you did. I'm sure it was great. What happened?" And I was like, "Man, I don't know. Like, pretty, parents are still married. Both sets of grandparents are married. I'm sure it was a wonderful childhood. What happened?" And I was like, "Well, I had these ear surgeries as a kid, but that wasn't a big deal." And she was like, "Interesting. Okay." And this was a phone consult before I even saw her. So she goes, "All right." She goes, when you come in, let's just start with that. Maybe come in with an open mind. Maybe. And I'd been to multiple treatment centers already. And nobody's ever asked me about my childhood. So when we go in, come to find out, growing up through this wonderful childhood I had, and I really did, but I had ear infections as a kid, multiple ear infections. I had to repair a hole in my eardrum. They had to cut my ear in the back and lay it over, take skin from inside of my ear and patch the hole in the eardrum. That ended up not working. I ended up having to fly out of state to Oklahoma for an eardrum transplant.
No kidding.
And the 3 bones in my left ear, prosthetic bones.
Wow.
So I had no idea that there was a such thing as medical trauma, or that could cause me to set me on a different path in my life. So from an early age, even though I had all the support and parental love and support and normal childhood, underneath the surface, I had these medical issues that made me I came out feeling defective, broken, insecure, like something's wrong with me. I'm different, And so underlining, I had this, as we say in recovery, this restless, irritable, discontent feel from childhood. And it was almost in my central nervous system. I could feel this reverberation of a power line. You ever seen, be around power lines that are
yeah.
Since childhood, I felt this
wow
in my, in my body. So I was real active. I would probably be diagnosed as ADD today, but I was real energetic, outgoing, and couldn't sit still. And I think it was probably this restless, irritable discontentness I had since childhood.
How old were you when you had that surgery?
So that last surgery, and so I have 3 scars behind my ear. They cut back here 3 times, and it was gnarly, dude. It was gross. I had to pull like a shoestring gauze. I'd have to pack in there and pull it out with pus and blood. We had to change that multiple times a day, and had this big thing. Blood would just pour out. I mean, it was gnarly. My last surgery was probably freshman year in high school, maybe.
Okay.
So
So you dealt with that pretty much your
okay.
whole childhood.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
swimming I felt different because I would
Mm.
always had to wear earplugs or I had to have a
Yeah.
custom mold earplug to put in for swimming. I'd always get ear infections at the beach or the swimming pool where I couldn't swim. It's like everybody was having fun, but I got an ear infection and we don't want it to get worse. So,
Yeah.
like the kid sitting there by himself sometimes. So yeah, I just felt like I was just off. And it manifested later on. We'll get into that. But in high school, man, high school was great. I had Mr. Social Life, and I had the goal. I set the goal early on that I was going to get class clown. And a lot of times
No
people
way.
who, yeah, right, go figure. You
Yeah.
think a guy who felt insecure, broken, defective. That's why I became the class clown. I created another persona to separate from the pain I was feeling inside. So I created this outward. And so not only did I get at senior prom, senior superlatives, they're reading class clown, John Mabry. Yes, I got it. I knew I was getting it. Go up there and get it. And then they're going through the other superlatives. You got all the, who's going to be the most successful king and queen. I ended up getting called up for most outgoing, most school spirited, and best personality. So
Wow.
I went in to try to get one. I got four. That's
Damn.
the addict in me. It's like, I'm gonna do
Yeah.
something. I'm going all in.
All or nothing.
Yeah. I go from high school to Baylor University. I was real fortunate to have be provided great education, having parents that could afford a nice university. They went to Baylor, so natural. I went there, had a great experience there. Joined the fraternity, did the fraternity life freshman year, and did the normal drinking, partying thing like a lot of fraternity college guys would do, but wasn't really big on the drug scene. Just wasn't really a thing for me, thankfully. And I got to my senior year, and took a step back and looked at it. It was the perfect senior year. I mean, I could not have dreamt of a better situation. By my senior year, I was a communications major. Originally wanted to go into sports broadcasting, or then I kind of switched over to sales. I knew I could probably make more money more quickly in a business kind of sales route than um, TV broadcasting, starting out in a market like Waco, Texas, reporting to high school, here
Yeah.
at, Woodland High School in Waco, Texas. So, but I ended up my senior year, I was working for the football team, the Baylor football team as a videographer. So I got a full ride scholarship, same
Nice.
scholarship the football players got, and
Wow.
all books, all fees, all classes. I got $550 a month stipend. I got to use for however I wanted. I got to register with the athletic advisors. So like you get to pick whatever classes you want first because
Mhm.
you're considered in the athlete, circle. And all the and the and the advisors knew like what the easy classes were. They knew they knew to put the athletes and the easy teachers for whatever
Yeah.
subject it was. So I just got slid into there. So I was riding pretty high with this full ride scholarship. I was traveling with the football team to like Notre Dame, and I got to hear Mike Singletary give the pregame speech to the Baylor Bears. He's a Baylor alumni, in the
Okay.
Notre Dame locker room. I walk
Nice.
out of the Notre Dame tunnel onto the field next to Regis Philbin. Regis is
Wha
there as a
That's crazy.
yeah. So had some great experiences. I was social chairman of my fraternity, so I was setting up events with sororities with my fraternity. So I was rolling in that. Grades were fine, life was manageable, and I was dating a cheerleader who was voted our fraternity sweetheart.
Okay.
So it was
You're
like,
the
man, it
man on campus.
could not have been going any better. And
Yeah.
then I set up this cruise, had this great idea. I'm going to set up a cruise because I get to go for free. If I get enough people, I get to go for free. So I got 35 friends signed up to go on this cruise out of New Orleans, spring break, March 2000. And we go on this booze cruise 2000. We go out of New Orleans and do some of the Mexico Cozumel kind of stops. We come back and that's when life
Mm.
changed forever. There was about, I don't know, 7 or 8 seconds where we're driving back. We're in a Ford SUV, Ford Explorer, and right rear tire blows out. Four of us in the car. I'm in the right rear passenger side, and tire blows out, and this car just started violently shaking. My friend Ashley had the cruise set on 70 miles an hour. Beautiful day out, no drinking or driving. Nobody was doing anything wrong. Just college kids going back to school. And the tire blows out, and the car just starts
Man.
shaking. And I just started, like, I saw myself, life really slowed down. And it felt like my life was a movie and it was about to end. I've said this before, is it felt like the old film reel movies. They had a film reel, and when the film reel runs out,
Yeah.
you know, and I almost saw my life as like a movie, and the film reel was about to go, and the screen was about to turn to black. And I was like, I'm gonna die right here. And so internally in my mind, every cell in my body just braced itself for death. And the car just started rolling. Car hit the median and did. Witness reports say between 6 and 12 times that we rolled,
Wow.
6 to 12 times. And my legs were out the window. Somehow my legs got out the window in the chaos, and I saw it happening. I was conscious the whole time. I saw my legs, and you try to pull them in. And I found out years later and going through therapy that I'd stored all that energy in my body. I just stored all that trauma and all that fear and all that I'm
Sure.
going to die right now. And so years later, after doing breath work and stretching and yoga, meditation, things like that, have really helped me. But in the moment, I just froze in this, absolute fear and terror that life was over.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the car stops and it's upside down. And it's just silent. I gotta get out. The car's gonna blow up. The car's gonna blow up is what I told myself. It's like, I gotta get out. Undid my seatbelt, crawled out as fast as I could, get out. And I look back and all three of my friends are still in the car. And I was like, man, if this thing blows up and I'm sitting out here just saving myself, like, mm-mm. So I
Yeah.
said, I'm going in. And if it blows up, we're all going down together. At least I won't be alone. So I crawled back in, got one friend out. She was unconscious, undid her seatbelt. She came to, and then Ashley was in the front seat. She was unconscious, and her boyfriend Spence was up front with her. He was okay. He was tending to her. I said, okay, Spence got Ashley. I got my friend and I out. We crawl out. Then it's just like a freaking scene in a movie, or it's like all the first responders come up. They got road flares out, stopping traffic on I-45 outside of Houston. You've got the jaws of life come in. And they're cutting Ashley out, and the metal is just crashing, and there's glass everywhere. People just roaming around, witnesses. These kids are walking around. My legs are mangled, just out in front of it for everybody to see. They can put a blanket on it just so people walking by people who were on scene there weren't, staring at the gross trauma of my ankle just being split open. And then a helicopter comes in, and you're like, what is my life turned into? I just went on this cruise. I got a full ride scholarship. I'm dating a cheerleader and our fraternity sweetheart, and I'm about to die. Like, what is going on? I was not prepared. And to bring in my faith is I was baptized as a kid, baptized at 11 years old by my grandfather.
Wow.
And, but in college, I was far away from it. I'd go to church every now and then, and I go to the youth stuff every now and then. I went to Baptist University, so I had to take chapel for 2 semesters. So I had exposure to it. I had to take Bible class, but man, I had all the resources provided for me. I had a cushy lifestyle. I didn't really need God. He was there, and I accepted Christ in my heart as a kid, and I was baptized by my grandpa, who was, he and Billy Graham were friends throughout their entire careers. They went to Bible college together.
Wow.
And their early days, they were both going to school. They went to school together in Minnesota, where my grandpa's from, and that's where Billy's from. And so Billy called our house. My grandpa's sister used to answer the phone, and she'd be like, Warren, it's that damn Billy Graham again. Not knowing he was going to be Billy Graham,
That's hilarious.
So we have letters. I got a letter on my computer here. I got a letter from him in the 1950s to Grandpa from London. Hey, we're doing the standing room only thing in London. Wish you were here.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Billy's family sent flowers to my grandfather's funeral when he passed. And so, my grandpa preached at First Baptist Tulsa for 35 years.
Okay.
And so that's where I kind of get my public speaking chops from is from Grandpa, seeing him on stage and seeing him making a difference in the community. Been a driving kind of heroine for me is to follow Grandpa's footsteps. And so, although I accepted Christ in my heart when I was probably about 11, got baptized by my grandpa, who was kind of well known. Went to church and youth group in high school and did the youth, church camps and the summer, youth camps and all that stuff. I didn't really need it. I had everything. I had everything provided for me. So,
John, let me ask you real quick, when you're going through that film, like you were saying, as the car's rolling and you kind of see your life, you feel like your life's coming to an end. Did you did you think about God at that moment, or did you start praying? Where was your faith in that moment, or was there just too much going on to where you weren't even thinking about
None, man. No, it was just survival. You're
it?
just in
Yeah,
survival
yeah, that makes
mode.
sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, you're just in shock. You're, you're just in absolute shock. Yeah.
What about after the fact when all the first responders are on the scene and they're bringing the bird in and they've got the flares out? Did you start to think like, oh man, God, what's going? How about that part?
No, man. No,
Okay.
again, it wasn't part of my repertoire.
Yeah. No, I get that. I get
I was
that.
the I was the party college kid. I had everything I needed. So God was
Yeah.
not in the picture.
I can
And
relate to that. I can. I mean, I went to a private school for a little while. I did the same thing, man. Went to church here and there, but God, there's a famous saying in the movie The Punisher, God's going to sit this one out, and that's kind of how I looked at it. I was like, I got it. I got my life. I'm good to go. And then he showed me later on down the road, you don't got it. I'm gonna take it back.
He's got a way of letting you know that he's still in
Yeah,
charge.
he sure does. He's got a funny sense of humor.
He does. He reminds you who's dad, who's your father.
Yeah, exactly. Well, walk us through that scene. So they've got your friends out. Like, where does life go for John after that point? What happens next?
So I'll spare you some of the details of the initial surgeries and stuff. But I went to College Station. It was the closest regional hospital, and then I got transferred back to San Antonio, my hometown. San Antonio, dude, I was in complete denial. I was in hospital before I even got to San Antonio and College Station. I was like, oh, I'm gonna go back to school. I'm gonna be all right. And my parents were like, what? Dude, you're moving home. I'm like,
Yeah,
you're not well. And this became a theme in my life is I need somebody to tell me I'm not well. Cause in my head, I got it all together.
yeah.
So my legs are mangled. They pieced it back together. My right foot was the worst. They pieced it back together, screws and pins and staples. And I mean, I had a screw going through my heel this long.
Jeez. Oof.
I had a big hole in the side of my foot we had to deal with. But there in College Station, I was like, I'm going back to school. My parents literally had to call the chaplain from Baylor University to come to my bedside to hold my hand and say, you're not well. You have to go home. And I was like, my roommates, I lived in a house of a eight bedroom house with 8 guys. I lived upstairs, and my roommates will carry me upstairs, and they'll take me to class. And
Yeah,
like I was
sure
literally
they
thinking,
will.
like, they're gonna carry me upstairs. Like, what?
Yeah.
I couldn't walk. So I needed somebody from outside of me to say, you're not well. You need to go get help. So I had to put all that stuff that I had in school, the social life, everything I had going for me. The scholarship got pulled because they needed the scholarship to keep the job going. Somebody had to do the job. I wasn't there. So
Right.
they were like, we're sorry. My boss was like, my hands are tied. I gotta give your scholarship to somebody else. So I lost my scholarship. I couldn't go to class. They weren't doing online classes back then. This is March of 2000. So I moved home to my parents, man. I'm in my dad's home office in a hospital bed, going through procedure after procedure after procedure, physical therapy, getting back up, trying to walk, going back into surgery. They had to take one of my abdominal muscles out. One surgery,
Damn.
the big hole I had in the side of my foot, they cut one of my abdominal muscles out and attached it into my foot. And I was in ICU for 3 nights just for that. I had to be in a room of 85 degrees or higher. If you ever slept in a room that's 85 degrees or higher, it sucks. And for 3 nights in a row while on morphine, which makes me hot. But I
Yeah.
had to have the blood vessels in that muscle they put in my foot had to be open. If you're
Okay.
in a cold room, it closes the blood vessels. So I had to be in a hot room where the blood would flow so that the muscle wouldn't die. And so, man, it was sad. It was trying to connect with my feelings, not just tell the story, but feel it. It was terrifying, absolutely terrifying. And I had a wonderful support system and great medical care. But um, here's what hurt me is I had a friend tell me right at the very beginning, good thing this happened to John because he can handle it. And I don't know if anybody's ever told you that, or if any listener out there can relate to somebody just telling you, hey, if anybody can handle going through more stuff, it's you. Well, I took that as I can't break down. I internalized it as, oh, you're supposed to be able to handle this. So
Good strong
I don't
one.
need to ask for help. I don't need to tell people I'm really hurting. I'm supposed to have it all together.
Yeah.
And so that hurt me in the long run. I didn't figure it out till years later in therapy that, therapist like, how did that work for you when your friend said, good thing it happened to you, you can handle it? And I was like, not good, because there's no way I was supposed to handle that. But
No.
I acted like I could. And so I tried to get better as quick as I could. I wanted to get back to school. I wanted to get back to my life. Then I started going back to school, had to come back for surgeries, and ended up a year and 2 weeks after the accident, I'm back in for surgery for an elected amputation. It
Really?
just got to, yeah, it got to the point where the bone structure started to collapse. I'm 22 years old, trying to graduate college. I'm back up at school, trying to graduate college. I had a brace up to my knee, a cane, and I had a custom shoe with, which now looks like a Hoka shoe. I had a big custom sole on the
Okay.
bottom.
Yeah.
I had
Yeah.
to go to one of these like custom like medical equipment places, 22 years old, crutching in or in a wheelchair, and like, can you make me these custom shoes? Because my feet aren't the right height. And I was a pretty active guy, and it was a blow to the ego to have to, pedal around on this thing. And it was just pain, pain, pain. I'm taking pain pills as prescribed. I wasn't abusing them at this point. That came later, but I just got to where my quality of life just sucked. And
Look,
I saw
I was going to ask you real quick, John. What about your friend circle? How did they react to this? And did they kind of stay in the fold with you, or did they kind of like step back because of the severity of the situation?
great question. I had to go through that in one of my rehab centers. Is I was real upset that my fraternity as a whole didn't reach out. Like
Oh,
I didn't get a thing of flowers. I didn't get
no kidding.
no group. They didn't think have a group conscious of like, our friend just almost died. He was in a fatal car accident where and Ashley ended up dying. I don't know if
Oh,
I
you didn't
mentioned
say
that.
that. No, you didn't say that.
So Ashley ends up dying in the helicopter before they got her to
Oh
hospital. So it
man.
turns into it's a fatal car wreck,
Jeez.
and I'm supposed to be able to handle it. Um, so it was really depressing, man. I'm laying there in my dad's home office, alone, isolated. Everybody else's life is going on, and the fraternity didn't send me anything.
That's
And
messed up.
I had a couple friends. I had two or three guys that came and visited the hospital, came and visited multiple trips. And my girlfriend was in the picture. She would come and visit. So that was really
Okay.
helpful. It gave me
That was
something
my
to look
next
forward to.
question. Okay, good,
And
good.
she was in the car wreck. If I didn't, she was the
Oh, you
she was
said
the passenger in
friend.
the car
Okay.
wreck.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, she was in the car wreck, and so she was there the whole time. So she saw me through all the recovery stuff, which was really nice.
Yeah.
But man, when I told one of my fraternity brothers, I was like, "Hey, Nick, do you know that nobody sent like they didn't send me anything?" He was like, "Oh, really?" I was like, "Yeah, you know." So that really, really hurt because I put in a lot of work for the fraternity. But anyway, I've been through that. I've,
That's messed up, man.
what I realized is that through this treatment center I went to, and I talked about this, is a therapist who goes, do you think that maybe those guys just didn't know how to react? Do you think maybe they didn't know what to do because it was so severe, like you're saying? And I was like, you know what? You're probably right. They probably were just like, we don't know what to do. And they're kids, they're in their own lives and their own girlfriends and their school, and they're trying to graduate and all that stuff, that they probably just didn't know what to say. I wouldn't know what to say to somebody going through that. So I've kind of worked through that a little bit, but it was, um, you find out who your real friends are. You
Yeah,
know
I
what I'm
was gonna
saying?
say definitely,
I don't
definitely.
need I don't need a group of 80 guys. I really just need three.
Yeah.
And those three guys kind of rose to the occasion, and that's really all I needed.
Well, and
So I
it's
had what
it's
I
really
needed.
cool to hear too that your girlfriend, kind of stayed and helped and was there through that too, and she didn't just say, "Oh, I survived this. Now I'm gonna go step over here."
Yeah, no, she was right there.
That's
It was
awesome.
yeah, it was really helpful.
So you make the decision to do the
So yeah, March of
amputation.
2000, I was like, you know what? After talking to a couple amputees, I networked with some, family friends. Y'all know somebody I could talk to? And one guy came to my house, took his legs off. He had missing two legs. I was like, you mind taking your leg off so I can like see what it looks like? Because I'm like, if it grosses me out, maybe it's not for me.
Yeah.
Like I just don't. They don't teach us this stuff in school.
Right.
What does the residual limb look like? And so he ended up taking his leg off, just like I'm doing now. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna do this. And he goes, I think, because the doctor would tell you. I would ask my doctor. I'm really good friends with my doctor to this day. He just did two surgeries on my ankle this last year in San Antonio. I can call him on a Sunday, and I said, hey man, I can't take this ankle anymore. I'll call him on Sunday on his cell phone. He goes, we'll fly in Tuesday. I'll get you on the operating table first thing Wednesday morning. So it's kind of relationship we built back then. And so I
Yeah.
asked him, I was like, should I cut it off? Should I keep it? They wanted to do more surgeries and bone graft, take bone out of my hip and fuse my ankle with, it would be 100% immobile for the rest of my life with a bone graft. And they said it's going to be the worst recovery of surgery you've had yet. It's going to be 6 months of pain. And then you're going to have surgeries the rest of your life.
Jeez.
So, but I asked my doctor, what do I do? And he goes, I can't tell you what to do. And I was like, come on, man.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
you know the answer. Just tell me.
Tell me.
What would you do if I was your son,
Yeah.
Knowing what you know on the other side of prosthetics, like, is it better for me? But they just can't say. And so calling in somebody that knew what they were talking about, who had, a subject matter expert was what I needed. And so called in, said, let's cut this leg off. So that was somewhat of a tough decision, I guess, because I was in so much pain. I was ready to let it go,
Yeah.
that it was kind of like a relief in a way. But I kind of, there's another theme for my life is I thought cutting the problem off, I thought cutting the bad part of the foot off was going to solve my problem. But all it did was just create a new set of problems. And so I just
Right.
thought, it's like, oh, I'll cut the foot off and I'm going to be fine. The pain's going to go away. Well, when you get a prosthetic leg, it opens up a whole new set of issues. And so just traded one set of problems for another set of problems. And it's kind of like whack-a-mole, like in
Yeah.
recovery. It's like you fix one thing and then something else, you got to work on another character defect,
What was
So-
it? What was it like waking up right after that surgery and now it's gone? Walk us through that if you don't mind.
Yeah, it was scary. Real scary, man.
I
Yeah.
bet.
Like, oh man. Just cried. If you first look down, your limb is gone. It's terrifying, man.
Yeah.
hmm just started sobbing, man. Like, I can't believe my life has come to this.
Yeah.
But underneath it, I had hope. Underneath, there was some hope that, like, okay, things will get better. And I was motivated. I'm grateful that I have kind of a motivating inner motivator inside of me. It's like, all right, let's take this on. Let's do this.
Yeah.
So I look forward to the new challenge. And I walked 6 weeks later on a temporary prosthetic to get my diploma.
No kidding. That's
So
awesome, man. That's
I was like,
awesome.
you know what? I want to walk that stage. In
Yeah.
6 weeks, I said, I got a goal. And so I walked with a temporary prosthetic on a cane. I had to use crutches just to get to the stage. But then
Yeah.
on the stage, I used a cane, got to shake the president's hands of Baylor University. I got the autographed picture with my diploma
That's
here
badass,
in
man.
my house. And I was
That's
like, I'll walk
awesome.
the stage.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome.
And then at that point, I was like, all right, let's go conquer the world. I already had a job. I had a job in sales set up for after Baylor. I moved to Dallas. And, I don't say this all the time, but I'll tell it to your audience. So my car accident was a part of the Firestone Ford Explorer rollovers. Did you and I talk about this?
No, but I
person?
know exactly what you're talking about. But no.
So
we
in
didn't.
2000, it came out in the national news that Firestone tires, the tread was separating off Firestone
Mhm.
tires, coupled with Ford Explorers, that cars would roll and kill people. And they
Yep.
knew about it for years. So we were one of those victims. We were victims of that before it came out publicly that the tires were faulty. That's why that's why the tire blew out. It was all preordained, and nobody said anything with the corporations. So that to say, the day before I graduate college, before I walk the stage, is I signed my settlement papers. So it's kind of like an athlete signing a contract right out of college. And so I had some money with the fact that I was hopped up on pain pills and drinking more, and graduating college, supposed to go into the real world with a lot of PTSD, a lot of trauma, a lot of chronic pain, a lot of stuff going on underneath the surface emotionally, was not dealing with any of my emotions. And it set me up for a recipe for
Yeah.
disaster, if you can imagine. So
you weren't in therapy or anything at this point when you had the surgery?
yeah, I had like a psychiatrist just for like some medication management, some
Okay.
antidepressants and things, but not real. I wasn't. Some counseling, but I wasn't being honest.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
fun,
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
fun.
Right,
I
right.
don't need come therapy.
I got this.
But I got when I moved to Dallas, got some medications. Then I got, I couldn't focus in my first job, and it was a result of PTSD, but I wasn't diagnosed with PTSD for a decade.
Wow.
You'd think after 10 years, it would take less than a decade for somebody to realize, you have PTSD, buddy. But again, I was lying to therapists. I was lying to counselors, and a lot of it was to get pills. I wanted to get the pain pills. I wanted to get Adderall. Those were my two, and then alcohol. So those are three things that I latched onto after my accident that just I would rotate through, and I would, take 2 or 3 times as much as I was supposed to. I could doctor shop. Back then they weren't tracking it like they do today.
Right.
They weren't tracking the scheduled drugs like they are now. And so I could just go from I'd go 3 doctors and get 3 different pain prescriptions, and nobody said anything.
Right.
So, moved to Dallas for a year, and I decided to go get my master's in counseling so that I could help other people. I thought it would
Nice.
be, I was like, I didn't really see myself as a counselor, like sitting down come sit, lay on a couch and let's walk through your problems. But it was part of my personal journey to set myself up, hopefully, to help others going through stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I moved out to San Diego and started working on this program, rehabilitation counseling, and in 3 years, it was a 3-year program. Went through that. I was behind the scenes, was on multiple. I was abusing Adderall, pain pills, alcohol on a consistent basis, hiding everything from my girlfriend and then fiance. Then we get married, and she moved out to San Diego and had no idea what she was getting into. I didn't know that I had a real issue, but I was working for a nonprofit. We were raising millions of dollars to get people with physical disabilities access to sports, called the Challenged Athletes Foundation out of San Diego. I mean, I got to go backstage at the ESPYs. I've been backstage we had athletes win ESPY awards. I was backstage at the ESPYs. I have dined with the King of Ghana. We had the King of Ghana in La Jolla.
Nice. La Jolla's beautiful.
Yeah, I got to have some really cool experience. Oh, Robin Williams came out 16 years in a row to our big San Diego fundraiser until he passed. And so I got to interact with Robin Williams multiple times and, doing great stuff on the server. My life looked great on paper. If I was on social media back then, it would have looked perfect. I'm helping kids with, new amputated legs, get a running leg, and just part of helping with the fundraising efforts. And I was setting up clinics for these kids with disabilities in New York and Chicago. And I literally flew from New York doing a clinic in Central Park for kids with disabilities. I flew to LA, put my tux on, and 2 hours later, I'm at the ESPY Awards. So I was like, man, I was, again, kind of like in college. Everything was going perfect. Yeah. Everything was going perfect. I had a great job, a great wife. And then I decided to throw a kink in things that were going really well and move up to LA and try my foot at acting. And so I stumbled into a crazy acting gig. Is I was a body double for my cousin on the first TV show about the war in Iraq, and he was the first amputee in the first TV show about the war in Iraq, and I was his body double. So national press comes out. Next thing you know, I'm on set with cameras and helicopter. I mean, the scene where my cousin loses his leg, it's this dramatic scene at the end of the first episode of Over There. Is this helicopter comes flying in as a roadside bomb had gone off. And it was like taking me back to my own stuff.
Bad, man. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, is this happening again? And all the makeup, they made my leg look so good with all the makeup and it looked real, but I was living it up, man. I was a broadcasting major, communications major. I was like, who doesn't want to go to Hollywood and get blown up? Like sign me up. Fake blood and helicopters and smoke. So I was riding high in People Magazine and Access Hollywood, doing interviews for New York Times and or USA Today. So move up to LA, drag my ex-wife kicking and screaming from San Diego to LA, and started throwing myself out there, doing some auditions, and I got on NCIS and ER. And then the fun one that people like the most is Superbad. I got the one scene in Superbad. I'm the kid with prosthetic leg. That was my role, where I jog past Jonah Hill on the track and curse at him as I run by.
I haven't seen that movie in years. I need to go back and find that scene.
Yeah, if you YouTube Superbad prosthetic leg,
okay,
it's like, so when people say they get their 15 minutes of fame, I got 23 seconds. It's nice. On YouTube. The clip on YouTube is like 23 seconds. So I was like, I'm an overachiever.
That's awesome.
I got the 23 seconds of fame.
Hell yeah, that's awesome, man.
So yeah, so now I'm rubbing shoulders. Next thing you know, I'm at the ESPYs. I'm at the Playboy Mansion with Adam Sandler, Bruce Willis, Emma Stone. These people were there. I've been bowling at Phil Jackson's house, the 10-time.
That's awesome.
10-time, national championship NBA coach. I'm bowling at Phil Jackson's house. And been licked in a cab by Andy Dick. Got stuck in a cab with Andy Dick on New Year's, and he was licking me, and he was trying to hit on it. Oh, it was like, yeah. I ended up leaving him in the hills. I had the cab leave him when he got out of the cab in the hills. I was like, dude, just get out of here. And the guy was like, are you serious? I go, dude, just go. And so we just left Andy. I left Andy up there. I was like, dude, you're crazy, man.
Dude's nuts, man. That dude's nuts.
Yeah, life was on the outside could not have been appearing any better. You got People magazine features and TV shows and I always wanted my name on the marquee, and I felt
Hmm.
like I was getting it there for a little bit.
Yeah.
But just a short time, it all came crashing down. Kind of like in college when everything was going perfect and the car accident happened. Well, here it comes again, man. Life was going great, or appearing great. Although the substance use was all going on underneath the surface, I wasn't connected with God at all. There was no faith. It was just me running on me. So now I'm in Hollywood, and I'm like, I'm my higher power.
Yeah.
Look at me. Look what I've come back from. And I got a call that my brother, Matt, did not show up for work on a particular Monday. I think it was December 5th, 2008. And nobody had heard from him in 3 days. I was out of town. I was in Vegas, and I come flying back and got a call from his boss or from his girlfriend. And his girlfriend was like, "Hey, Matt's boss called and said he didn't show up for work today." I was like, "Man, that's not like him." And he struggled with addiction and mental health and bipolar, and he struggled with some stuff. But the thing is we never got him help. He was so smart. He got his MBA from Georgetown and top of his class in business school at University of Texas. Just brilliant guy, but struggled. And we just, as a family, we didn't want anybody to, don't look at our phone. We're not dealing with anything like that. Let's keep it quiet. And sure enough, he overdosed. He
Sorry.
overdosed, and I got the call that he didn't show up. And so I go to his house, and I was the one who kicked in his bedroom door and found my brother deceased after 3 days.
I'm so sorry, man. Man,
Yeah.
oof,
Thank
that's
you.
rough.
Thank you.
That's
Yeah.
rough, man.
So that, I kicked it, I like walked in from one trauma to another. I
Yeah.
literally kicked my prosthetic leg from one trauma into another. And before I walked out of his house, I was chugging a bottle of vodka, just to calm down, just to get out of the
Man.
house.
Yeah.
So, as one can imagine, things did not get better. Got out of LA, moved here to Nashville, and thought, let me come back here to kind of Southern roots, kind of how I grew up in Texas,
Yeah.
and let me get a good job. I got in with Dave Ramsey. I said, working for a nice Christian organization is going to be
Hmm.
doing me great. I'm going to a new start, fresh start. And if anybody with mental health and substance use issues knows, you bring you with you. So I just brought myself from LA to Nashville and working for Dave Ramsey. I'm calling churches, selling live event tickets. And I got called into his office one day, and it was starting to be documented that I was drinking on the job and popping pills while calling churches on behalf of Dave Ramsey's organization. And it's I spared sharing this detail of my story for a lot of years, but I'm not ashamed of it anymore. It's part of my journey. Somebody can use it against me at some point in time, or even Dave come back after me, lost money that no, but he says in his business leadership programs he hates hiring crazy people, and every time he hires a crazy person, he puts a new level of interviewing in. Well, back then I went through 7 interviews to get the job, and I think when I left, he probably added 8 or 9 levels because
Jeez.
I got through. They let the riffraff through.
Yeah.
But I do have a dream of going back and speaking at his organization. I filmed a video over at his office a few years ago. I said one day I hope, God willing, that I go back and share my testimony of what God's done in my life and come back into Dave's office and say how he set me on a path that I would have never imagined possible. But he helped get me into rehab. He
Yeah.
let me go, and he said, "Look, you obviously need some help, and so I'm going to let you go get the help that you need. So get your box and see your way out the door. But I hope you choose to get help."
Did you come directly to Nashville because of Ramsey, or were there other reasons?
No, we wanted to raise a family here.
Okay,
I'm from
gotcha.
Texas. It was too hot. My ex is from Chicago. It's too cold.
Okay, yeah,
So we were like, where
yeah.
can we go in the middle? So Nashville. We decided on Nashville. It's kind of a happy median.
And this is back. You said 2008, right? That time frame,
We got back.
2009.
We moved here in '09. Yeah,
Okay, yeah. So for the people listening to this show that know anything about Nashville, back in 2008, 2009, Nashville was not the it city yet, and Dave Ramsey pretty much runs the city of Franklin. Franklin is one of the most affluent areas in the state of Tennessee, if not
it is. Yeah.
probably the South or maybe even the country at this
So
point.
it's in
But
the top 20 counties. Williamson County is in the top 20 highest income in the whole United States. And we're the only one in middle America. All the other ones are on the coast. So we're the
okay,
only county, we're the highest income county in middle America anywhere. So, yeah. And so I get in with Dave Ramsey. Here I am at the top. I'm at the top of
yeah,
the top guy's,
yeah,
office. And then I blow it, dude. I just completely let me drink my way out of this job. So
Looking back though, did they know? I mean, they had to have known some of your testimony, right? When you got the job there, I would think,
yeah, I
right?
played it up. I played it up, man.
I
It's
would
like,
too. Yeah.
yeah, that's one of the
Huh.
reasons I got the job is 'cause oh, look at this guy. He's overcome some adversity
Yeah.
but I wasn't dealing with my addiction stuff. I didn't know,
Yeah.
I didn't even know I needed, and some family members, my ex-wife, of course, had noticed signs and said, maybe you might need some help. I'm like, what are you talking about? But life ultimately becomes unmanageable if you're a real alcoholic like myself. And so I needed somebody like Dave Ramsey to hold a mirror up and go, look, dude,
Yeah.
this is you. Somebody from the outside, like when I had when I had my accident, I needed somebody from the outside to go, you're not well. I needed
Chaplain.
somebody.
Yeah.
It was like I wasn't going to listen to an everyday person, but if Dave Ramsey says I got a problem, then okay, all right.
Well, I'd like to ask you, John. I don't want you to get into this too deep, just for security reasons. But did your ex-wife ever confront you when you were in LA and you were kind of in that party scene and around all the celebrities? Did she ever kind of pull you aside and say, "Hey, man, you got to slow down. Like you're getting out of control."
Absolutely, yeah, yes. She tried, man, and we were married for 14 years, and God
Hmm.
bless her. Like seriously, my heart goes out to uh, any spouse that lives with somebody with addiction and mental health that either does or doesn't get help. It hurts. It hurts the
Hmm.
family unit, and I caused a lot of damage, and I'm sorry for a lot of things, but she really tried. She really did. I give her credit. And yes, in those early days, she did. And her sister even was like, "Hey, there's this group called Celebrate Recovery at your church that you at Bel Air." We went to Bel Air Presbyterian Church, and she said, "There's this group called Celebrate Recovery, and they help people. It's Christ Center 12-step group." I was like, "Why would I go there? Like, didn't even register. Like, why would I go there?"
I've been in the same boat, my friend. I've said the same thing. What are you talking about?
Why don't you go? You're the one with the
Yeah.
problem.
There's happy hour. Let's go to happy hour. What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah. Let's talk about this over here. So I ended up that set me off. I'll spare the details, but 5 rehab centers and 3 sober living houses in 7-year period. It was ugly. It was ugly. I ended up for a while, I was living in a mold-infested trailer off the banks of the Cumberland, off of Trendy Lane, and it was a double wide trailer. It was a sober living property with multiple dwellings, and I got the double wide trailer with holes in the floor. I could see the ground in the kitchen. I got a roommate named Beaver, and it's like,
It's a
you
real
know,
Nashville, dude. That's
it's
the
like,
real Nashville.
and I'm like,
Oh
I was at the
man.
Playboy Mansion a few years ago with Adam Sandler, and now I'm living in a van down by the
Down
river.
by the river. Oh
Living in a
man.
trailer with Beaver.
Mick Foley or whatever his
Yeah,
name was.
yeah, Matt Foley.
Matt Foley. Yeah, Matt Foley. Oh man, that's
So,
crazy. Shit. That's AKA Jelly Roll. No, I'm just kidding.
so,
That's
but
wild.
I really struggled with my ego. I really struggled with being honest with myself. And I put a veneer of everything is fine underneath, over the surface of just a lot of filth and a lot of like jagged edges. My insides were just like razors, and my central nervous system from childhood was already off. I was already
Hmm.
irritable, restless, irritable, and discontent from childhood. And then you had the car accident and the helicopter and the jaws of life, and then finding my brother dead. I mean, it was just a perfect storm of course I'm going to struggle. But even when I was reaching out for help, I was just lying to myself, and I was trying to get better for other people. If I could get better for the ex-wife, if I could get better to get the next job, to hold a job down, if I could get better for the kids, that was going to fight, keep the divorce from coming.
Yeah.
Divorce was talked for years and years. And it's like, well, if I'll go to treatment, let me get better for somebody else. And I just kept screwing up, man. But I did have I had a couple of years of sobriety, ended up working for a group of addiction treatment centers. And I was really blessed to host a podcast on addiction. It was called High Sobriety. I'm traveling around the country, sharing my story at colleges and universities. I'm on addiction panels at conferences in like Florida and California. And man, it was crazy. It was crazy. It was like, God, this is why I was supposed to go through everything. But I'll tell you what, is even though I was working in the recovery field and I was doing great work for a few years, and I was on the cover of Toastmasters magazine. I was taking Toastmasters public speaking courses to get better at public speaking.
Hmm.
And next thing you know, they're sharing my story of trauma and triumph on their cover. Their magazine goes out to 140 countries.
Wow.
it's a public speaking support group worldwide. And so next thing you know, I'm on the cover of their magazine and hosting this podcast and doing all these things. And underneath the surface, I was just, there was some unresolved stuff, and I ended up drinking again. And I want to blame it on the job, the stress of the job. I want to blame it on the marriage. I want to blame it on everything else. But it was just me not being brutally honest with myself and turning it over to God, surrendering to God really for the first time in my life. I can't do this, man. It
Yeah.
was always, I was trying to surrender to somebody else to fix a problem
Right.
as opposed to surrendering to God so that he could fix me. And so I ended up getting all this press and building up this platform. And then it all comes crashing back down. Here we are again. Everything was going good, going good, going good. And then I lost the job. I lost the house. I lost the wife. I lost the kids. And COVID hits. And I was living in a sober living house for 7 months after my last relapse. And after the addiction treatment center, I'm back in a sober living house, and I used to go speak at sober living houses to go
Yeah.
share my testimony. And here I am getting that ego slapped around again, going, welcome back, buddy. You don't have
Yep.
this. You ain't turning it over. You're trying to run your life. You're trying to run your show. And, I had a counselor tell me we're working on the steps, and I was in one of the treatment centers I was in. He goes, look, John, he goes, nobody out there is going to tell you this, but I'm only going to tell you this because I love you. And I don't want you to die like your brother. But he goes, you're just a crippled effing drunk, man.
Damn.
You're just a crippled effing drunk. Deal with that. Come to terms with that. Maybe you can stay sober for a few days.
Wow.
Get out of here. Go to your room.
Tough love right there.
Mm-hmm. I was like, man, he's right. So, however, I ended up once COVID hit, I'm living on my own. I'm out of the sober living house, living on my own for the first time in my life. I'm having a drug test almost weekly for 3 years. Breathalyzed every time before I see my kids, supervised visits with my kids. I got to blow in a breathalyzer with a camera on it, takes a picture of
Wow.
me, emails it to my ex-wife. Is he sober before he gets the kid? Within
No
an hour of
kidding.
seeing the children? Yeah, I had to track all this stuff, all set by the court. I had to, dude, I don't talk about this much because it's embarrassing, but I had to go to like a counselor, a custodial evaluator to be evaluated over multiple sessions over 6 months. I had to go fill out hundreds and hundreds of questions about my life and everything. My kids had to come in and be interviewed by a custodial evaluator. I had
Man.
multiple interviews. My ex-wife had to be interviewed to see, am I fit to be a father? Can he safely be around children?
Yeah.
And you know what? I put on a facade for a little while, and I ended up drinking again during COVID. And my son, my oldest, my kids are 18, 15, and 11 now. Love him to death, but my poor oldest at age 12 called me out. He smelled alcohol on my breath when I was supposed to be sober. Everything blew up, man. I had to go back to court, and all the supervised visits were back. Had to start all over. And that's when my life changed. Is when I got down, even when thought I was at my lowest, it got even lower when my son sees me drunk when I'm supposed to be working on myself and attending meetings on a daily basis. And I drank anyway. And he said, Dad, you're drunk. Mom's coming to pick us up.
Wow. At 12 years old.
Dad, you're not fit to be a father. I'm going to look out for my little brother and sister, and I'm getting us out of here.
Wow.
Mom's coming to pick us up. And they walked out
Man.
the door, got Mom's car, and I had to do a little self-evaluation.
Yeah.
And so that's when I went
heavy,
to
man.
that's when things changed, and I went to Celebrate Recovery. I was doing I was trying AA, doing 12 steps, and it just wasn't working. So I said, what can I do differently?
Mm-hmm.
Even though as many times I failed and relapsed, I was like, what can I try differently this time? And so I went to Celebrate Recovery here, and it's the same 12 steps as AA for the listener who doesn't know. Same 12 steps as AA, but Christ is the center. It's a Christ-centered 12-step group as opposed to
Higher power or whatever.
higher general power of your understanding. Yeah.
Right.
So I came back to the church where I was I was born and raised, and I'm glad I got that education as a child because I came back to it,
Yeah.
and I've been sober ever since. Been sober for the last 5 years, and
That's
Celebrate
amazing.
Recovery.
That's
Celebrate
amazing.
Recovery
Man.
saved my life, man.
I'm proud of you, man, because I know I've dealt with alcohol abuse, and I know what that's like, and it's not easy, and it's hard to surrender and to say, hey, I do have a problem. I do need to get help, but to just stay the course. And I don't know how to word this in the right way, but kudos to your son, man, to step up and be like, "Dad, you're not fit right now. You're not well. We're out." And that's hard, dude, because I can't imagine hearing that from my own son, but that, it's like God kind of worked through him in a way, because that sounds like that was kind of your moment where like, okay, John, it's time to get your shit together.
That's what
It's
I told
it's
him.
time to it's time to go to work. Like it's time to, that's how I see it. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not living your story, but that's kind of what I see from my end. Like he we can relate because the same church building. I had someone tell me years ago that the Holy Spirit was working through my little boy, kind of guiding me through some stuff, not related to alcohol, but other things. And I looked at her and I was like, "What? Like I never thought of that. Like that's wild." Because he was really young at the time. But I mean, who's to say God wouldn't do that?
Yeah. Yeah. I saw my life through my kid's eyes. He said, I only saw my life through my eyes. I was only in my own head. It was like, my world sucks. I've gone through all this trauma. I've been dealt with this. I've dealt with this. Yes, I'm going to drink to numb the pain. And then
Yeah.
they took my kids away. So yes, I wanted to numb out from that.
Right.
But when I saw my life through my kids' eyes, it was like, oh, I'm a loser. I'm always going to be a loser unless I change, unless I make some big changes. Like I got to do this for me. And that's when it also switched of like, I saw myself through my kids' eyes, but I was like, I got to do this just for me, not for
Right.
anybody else,
Right. Exactly.
And so yeah, I wake up every day with a hole in my soul. Every day, even today, I wake up every day with a hole in my soul. I'm going to fill it with something. And today I fill it with, I'm in prayer before I put my leg on. I say, I put my spiritual prosthesis on in the morning. Before I get out of bed, I say my prayer
Yeah.
before I put on my physical prosthesis. And the prayer helps, starting the day off in prayer, doing a Bible devotional every morning, being in prayer throughout the day, being of service today. I'm grateful to be of service to a lot of people. I mentor high school kids. I have 7 high school kids I mentor uh, twice a week. I've done for the last 3 years. I've been with this group for 3 years now. Like they let me mentor kids. I've led a men's step study group and celebrate recovery. I've led
Nice.
a year long men's group. So only by the grace of God, and I'm grateful to be here today.
You you're definitely a picture of resilience, man, just what you've been through. And I wanted to ask you because I can relate to a lot of what you're saying about church and faith and kind of being brought up in it and then going to college and kind of going the other way. I totally like just hearing you talk when you were at Baylor like that. That sounded a lot like my life. When did God become real in your story for you?
It be in celebrate recovery. Here's what's great about celebrate recovery is in AA, for anybody that knows or doesn't know, in Alcoholics Anonymous, you work the 12 steps with your sponsor. So there's one guy that's kind of your coach, that's kind of your guide, and you share the 12 steps with that person. In celebrate recovery, you do it over the course of a year. It's the same 12 steps. They have workbooks that you work through, but you do it in a group of men. So I had 9 other guys. So there was a group of 10 of us. We met every Monday from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. in the little dark church room, and we would do our homework. And you come and you'd answer one, you'd answer number one, you answer number one. You go around. Nobody gives feedback, just kind of like AA. You don't give feedback. You're just there to listen, and everybody processes their own stuff, and you hear everybody processing. And so by the end of the year, everybody's worked through the 12 steps in a group. You do work 4 and 5 with just your sponsor. That's can get a little more personal, the inventory and some of those things, but for the most part, you're working the whole thing in a group. So by the end of the year, I got 9 other guys that know all my stuff, and I know all their stuff. And it's like we've been through spiritual warfare, spiritual battle together. So God was able to work through me seeing those guys being brave and dealing with their stuff, help me be. I'm like, oh, that guy's sharing that. Ooh, all right. Well, I wasn't going to share this in this group, but if that's how we're playing, I'm sharing this. And then next guy, he's being real bold because I shared that. So we all kind of fed off each other, and that's when God really really took hold. And I think I showed you some pictures of me when I went in to celebrate recovery. I was 55 pounds overweight. I was hideous looking. I was dead inside. I didn't even know if I wanted to live after my son calling me out like that. And at celebrate recovery, I'm a different person on the outside because of what God's done for me on the inside. Yeah, this is just the outward changes I've had are just the changes of the spirit
It's
that God did
amazing.
through me in
It's
celebrate
amazing.
recovery.
You just hit on a key word I want to touch base on real quick. You said spiritual warfare. For those that are watching and listening right now, can you dive into that topic? Because me personally, I really feel like spiritual warfare plays a huge role when you are self-sabotaging, when you're trying to numb pain or trauma and you're internalizing all this, trying to do it on your own because you don't want to ask for help. John, do you mind kind of enlightening some of our listeners on your version of spiritual warfare or what that looks like for you?
So yeah, man, that's good. That's a deep question. Um, I do feel my experience has revealed that I do feel like there are spirits that are not of me that have like taken over me. Um, and I have had through my church, we have a it's called a deliverance and discipleship or disciple and deliverance. Have you heard of this?
I went through it.
Okay. So I did this about 6 or 7 months ago, actually.
Steps to freedom.
Well,
Is that what you're
yes.
talking
Well,
about?
I've done
Yeah.
it twice. I've done it
Oh,
twice.
wow.
It was
No
steps.
kidding.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I've done it twice. That's how bad I've been.
Overachiever, man. You're an overachiever.
But seriously, and so what that book, what that process have done, and going through elders at my church, filling out those books and filling out those questions, has gone to literally like a spirit of infirmary. There's a like we prayed over a spirit of infirmary of me being sick my entire life. I've had from the ear surgeries to the chronic pain. I mean, literally this last year I've had 2 more surgeries. I flew out of state and had 2 more surgeries. Now I got a shoulder issue. It's like I'm not completely healed of it, but we've prayed over the spirit of infirmary, and maybe it's still there. I don't know, but I still deal with chronic pain, and we've dealt with other spirits of I won't go into detail, but it's stuff's kind of personal. But I do feel like I had been taken over in areas of my life by something that was not of me, and consistent prayer and true surrender is what it has taken for me to allow the goodness and the light of God to come back into me and to take over um, really demons. I feel like really demons that have been inside of me that I think are real, that are real. And it sounds hokey pokey, but I feel they're real, and I feel delivered from many of them. I still got, like I said, I still kind of deal with some chronic pain. I'm like, come on, I was hoping that heavy prayer would work, but
Yeah.
it does allow me an opportunity, even in when I'm dealing with chronic pain right now, is to come back to God and give that back to God and say, God, I
Mhm.
can't get through this day with this pain without you. So it does keep me tethered to Him, and maybe that's what it's there for still.
Yeah, and I had a pastor on in the summer when he made a point. We were talking about spiritual warfare, and he said God can work with anything but pride. You have to surrender for God to truly work in your life. And that really hit me hard because I got to thinking about my life and all the things that I had done. And when I was drinking and I was selfish because I was like, I don't have a problem. And this happened to me. So, I'm going to drink. And I got to thinking, I was like, man, he's right. Like that makes a lot of sense to me because I was trying to control my own life and I didn't have the courage to say, you know what? Steve has a problem with alcohol. Maybe I do need to step back and evaluate, but I was too selfish and I was too full of pride. And so the program you're talking about, I just want to kind of let the listeners know from my perspective. I went through this and I'm going to throw a name out. You probably know this name. Eddie Penny went on the Sean Ryan show a long time ago and he mentioned a book called Bondage Breaker. That's the book. Neil Anderson wrote the book. That's the book that got me into the program you're talking about because Neil Anderson has the Steps to Freedom in Christ Ministries. But
Uh-oh.
what it did for me, we went through this probably the same thing. And I took a little note here. It helped me identify how old I was when I first felt pride, and it also helped me identify what age I first felt shame. And shame for me developed around 5 years old. But it was one of those things where I just buried it throughout my adult life and I tried to drink it away because I didn't want to deal with it. And that's where therapy for you guys listening, I'm not a therapist. I'm not going to give any clinical advice, but therapy is beneficial when it's conducted through the right person because you can learn to work through childhood trauma, whatever it is you may be dealing with. And I know for me, that was something I never saw that coming. I didn't see at 5 years old what happened to me at 5. Like that created shame in me that basically, dude, it kind of was a trajectory my whole life because I felt like
Mhm.
I constantly had to be the best. I got to prove myself. I got to earn love from people because I'm not good enough inside, like all this stuff. But going through what you're talking about, Steps to Freedom, it showed that to me. And that's where the spiritual warfare component came in for me. It
Mhm.
was like, okay, so the devil doesn't want me to share my testimony because I'm not worthy,
Yes.
but I'm like, no, screw that. Like I'm going to do it.
He doesn't
And
want,
no,
he wants you in the dark. He wants you there. He doesn't want you to share what's going on in your life.
mm-mm.
Anybody out there that's listening right now, surrender. It's not just losing control, but it's admitting that you never had it. So if you need to surrender today to a power greater than yourself, I call him Jesus Christ. You can call him whatever you want. But for me, surrender wasn't losing control. It was admitting I never had it to begin with, and somebody else does. And I got to lay my life down today to get there. And that I started going back, back at the church and back to Celebrate Recovery. And uh, these are great resources that you're
Yeah.
providing a listener here today, man. Golly.
Well, I just want people to understand that, we all have a purpose on this earth, and just because of your past and what you've been through, it doesn't define you. And I'm preaching to myself because I still fall sometimes, like, oh man, I won't see my son until Monday. I had him over the snow here in Tennessee. We were snowed in for about a week, but I sometimes I let the enemy kind of creep in and remind me of my past, and I have to be aware of it and pray. And before John and I came on the air, I mean, we prayed over the episode because I believe in spiritual warfare. And the older I get, the more I understand it. But that's from following Christ and praying and doing a devotional. And so it's for me, it's almost like you're going to go to the gym and you're going to train. What body part are you going to do that day? What movements are you going to do? For me, the Bible is like, okay, this is a resource I can use not only to learn more about the Lord, but to how to use this scripture and to follow his will, not Steve's will. Because Steve's will is not aligned with Christ. It's just not. I'll be 100% honest. Steve would be sitting at the beach right now and wherever, hanging out, doing
With
whatever,
the Mai Tai.
man.
You got the Mai Tai, yeah.
Yeah. I'd be drinking. That's for sure, dude. That's
Yep.
for sure. But I know that no matter what I've done, and this is for everybody listening, God loves you no matter what, and he wants a relationship with you. But you have to surrender. You cannot try to do everything on your own because it's not how it works. And Adam and Eve tried that and it didn't work out at all. For those of you that know the story of Adam and Eve, the fall of man, they thought they knew better. Well, one of them thought they knew better than God, and it didn't work out too well. So, John, I wanted to ask you, man, is there like a scripture or like a motto or a creed that you've used to kind of get you through some of your trials?
Um, well, one motto that I've kept over the years is it's not from the Bible; it's from Fight Club. I'll start with that one. Then I'll go to my Bible verse. But it's only after you've lost everything that you're free to do anything. It's only after you lost everything that you're free to do anything. And so for me, it was like I gotta leave. I gotta lay all of myself down, give it all away. And I didn't do it all at once, man. I gave a little bit away. I gave a little bit away. It's like a little bit. I trust a little bit more. God revealed himself in that. Okay, I'm gonna trust God. I'm gonna give a little bit more. For some people, if you haven't accepted Christ into your heart, there's that one big time where you say, God, Jesus, I know that you died on the cross for my sins. I want to invite you into my heart to live as my personal savior. And then after that, I have found that didn't just solve all my problems. It's a constant daily, weekly, or hourly laying down of me to continue to surrender. After you lost everything, you're free to do anything is kind of non-Bible one. My Bible verse would be Luke 9:23. So whoever wants to be my disciple must deny himself and take up his cross and follow me daily. Yeah.
Amazing, man. John,
lay down yourself.
Yeah, this has been a powerful episode, man. Thank you so much for just setting aside time tonight to come on and share your testimony, man. That takes courage. I know you've done it a lot, but it takes courage, and I admire that, man, because you have been through it.
Thank you. And for a listener out there, you don't have to share your story on a podcast. You don't have to share your story, broadcast it with the world. But I encourage you to share what's going on with you with somebody, today. Maybe today's the day you're like, hey, I've been needing to go to therapy, but I haven't called the therapist. My wife's been nagging me. If you're listening out there, take this as a sign to help yourself today by getting some. If today's the day you need to ask for help, then you ask for help. Get that therapist. Go to church counselor. Reach out to one of us. Reach out to DM one of us. I'll be happy to pray with you. I'm sure you'll put my stuff, John Mabry Connects, on the socials. John Mabry Connects. But I'm happy to pray with anybody out there that needs some prayer tonight.
Awesome, man. Thank you for that.
Thank you for this platform. Thank you for what you do.
Hey, thank you, man. Thank you as well. How do you feel about praying us out tonight?
Oh, I'd love to.
I've got a prayer request, man, if that's cool. My girl Shelly lost her cousin today. His name is Brent Pimpkins. I'd like to pray for the family and just kind of just offer some support from they're in I forgot where they're in New Mexico, but I'd like to, if I'd just like to do add that to the prayer tonight.
So say it again, Brent. He passed
Brent
away.
Pipkins, yeah, he passed away today unexpectedly.
Okay.
Had been sick and just kind of, he's young, he's in his 50s and just kind of died unexpectedly. So they're going through a hard time right now.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this time and this space that you've created in our lives to be able to connect with like-minded people and to hopefully connect around the world with somebody else that needs to hear your message today. And I hope that you've been able to speak through Steve and his podcast and his platform and my story tonight to be able to lead somebody to you. If there's somebody out there tonight that's feeling defeated and feeling, yeah, I lost my leg and then had my leg amputated in a car wreck, but we've all had an amputated spirit of some sort, and we need a spiritual prosthesis to fill that. And you can be that for us. You've been that for me. You've been that for Steve, and you prop us up when we can't do it ourselves. Pray that you please prop up Brent and his family with the unexpected death out there in New Mexico. Pray that you please put the right people in place in the right time to um, help the family cope and grieve and get through this time. It can be an upheaval for families who are a lot of times already stressed to the max. Lord, that you please give them a sense of peace in the next several days as they kind of cope with this and continue to continue to lift up this podcast and Steve and his mission, Lord, that you lead the right people to him and him to the right people, so that we can continue to grow your kingdom in your glory. In Jesus' name, Amen.
Amen. Thanks for tuning in to the Peace, Power, and Purpose podcast. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. A lot of our viewers aren't subscribed, so go ahead and click that bell so you don't miss an episode. I drop new episodes every Wednesday and every Thursday, and we're also available on Spotify. John, thank you for joining me tonight, man. This was a powerful conversation. I really enjoyed it.
So, same here, man. Absolutely, me too. Thank you.
Yeah, man. God bless you, brother.
Yeah, you too. God bless.